All right, welcome back, everybody. This is actually the last section that we're going to be covering for the semester. This is sections 3.5a and b, which are on linear inequalities. Part A is about doing it symbolically, which is with algebra, and then part B is doing it with a graph, okay, graphically. So we're going to do this all in one shot. It should only take one video. So let's just jump right in. First of all, inequalities. Okay, that's the word we're going to focus on. Inequality means that it's going to be less than or equal, greater than or equal. Okay, we talked about inequalities a little bit when we did domain and range. Okay, I know that was a while ago in this semester. Okay, so now we're actually going to use the symbols in doing the algebra, right? There's only one thing, one little twist in doing the algebra with inequalities rather than with equalities. In inequalities, whenever you multiply or divide by a negative, the inequality must flip. Okay? Let's think about that. If you change the sign from 3 to -3, you are no longer greater than 0, okay? You are less than 0. So whenever the sign changes, you have to flip the inequality. So in parentheses here, we'll say whenever the sign changes. Whenever the sign changes, you're going to have to flip the inequality. And that's the only thing to remember. Otherwise, the algebra is exactly the same. So let's jump in with a problem. -5 times x plus 3 is less than 7. Okay? I'm going to do the algebra the way I know how to do the algebra. Pretend this is an equal sign. Okay? Algebra is not going to change. This is going to be -5x minus 15 is less than 7. Just be careful not to inadvertently change this to an equals. Okay, that's a common mistake. So always check above and make sure that you're consistent. Okay. Again, continuing algebra, I still need to get x by itself. So we're going to add 15 to both sides. So this means -5x is less than 22. But what's happening here? The next step is divide by -5. What happens when we divide a positive by a negative? We're changing the sign, okay? So dividing by a negative changes the sign. Because we did that, the sign flips, and x has to be greater than -22/5. We keep this as a fraction. We've said this quite a few times in some of the videos. This is an exact value, okay? You don't have to go to a decimal. It's not bad if you go to a decimal, but if the decimal were repeating, this is your most exact form, okay? So again, just note what we did here, okay? We went up to this fact, and because we divided by a negative, the inequality turned around. Okay, it flipped, it turned around. So that's what that means. If you're doing something and solving an inequality, as soon as you would divide or multiply by a negative number, that sign turns around. Okay? If you divide or multiply by a positive number, nothing changes. It's just like solving a regular algebra problem, right? It's only when you divide or multiply by a negative that this is going to happen. So I just wanted to illustrate that. You really only need to see it one time, okay? And then you just need to remember that this is the fact. Otherwise, regular algebra rules apply. So now the question is, how do we solve this graphically? Okay, So now we want to graphically solve -5 times x plus 3 is less than 7. Just like we did equalities, okay, and we put each side into y1 and y2, we do the same thing here. Again, you're kind of going to pretend this is equals, even though it's not equals anymore. This side is going to go in y1, or in the first spot in Desmos. This side is going to go into y2, or the second spot in Desmos. All right? So I have the graphing calculator handy, so I'm just going to use the graphing calculator. So in the graphing calculator, I'm going to put -5 times x plus 3, and I'm going to put 7. Okay? None of these values are particularly large, so I'm going to go to zoom 6 to take me back to a standard window. There's the linear side, y1. There's my line at 7, or y2. Okay? All right. Now, here's the situation. Graphically, think about what we're saying here. I want to know when y1 is less than y2. Okay? The sign is still happening here. Okay? Less than. What does less than mean when you're talking about height? Okay? I want to know when y1 is shorter than y2. Okay? That's what I'm really asking here. Or when is y1 lower than y2? So what you're looking for graphically is when is y1 under y2? Okay? Or instead of saying under, you could say shorter than y2. Or you could say below y2. I don't care which way you want to remember this, but when you say less than, you're talking about this being underneath this one. Okay, this is where you have to remember which one was which. This was my linear, -5 times x plus 3. This is my constant, okay, just 7, my flat line. When is the blue line, okay, below the red line? For all these points after this intersection, right? All of this. If I were to shade this, it would be all of this. But that means that I still have to find that point of intersection. So procedure-wise, I'm still treating this like it's equal. I got to find that number. So let's go to second trace, number 5. Follow the prompts. Get it real close. Hit enter 3 times. I have x is -4.4. Okay? Remember, you're solving this, so it would only be an x value that you care about. Okay? So x being -4.4 is where they're equal. I don't care about where they're equal. I want to know where this graph is below this graph. That's happening at everything above, okay, everything to the right of -4.4. So I want to say that it's all x that is larger than -4.4. Okay? Obviously, this is a fraction. This is a decimal. How do I know if I got the answer right? I can do one of two things. I can put -22/5 in my calculator and see if I get -4.4. Or this is the last thing my calculator knows. So I can go to a clear screen, type x, and hit enter. That's going to be what comes up. And then I can just go to math and frac, and look at that. It is -22/5. Okay? I should get the same thing whether I do it algebraically or graphically. So again, this is a great check to make sure that you're doing this correctly, okay? Definitely understand the graphically, okay? The algebra, as long as you understand the flipping of the sign, okay? That part should be straightforward. The graphically is a little trickier because you have to be talking about above and below, okay? So you really need to pay attention there, okay? So I don't know if I need to do more in this video because it's really the same every time. Just know what you're looking for, okay? So if you have any questions, please let me know. And this was the last video, so we'll be reviewing, okay? Make sure you've watched all the videos and understand each of the concepts that we talked about. All right, take care.